Craig, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Glad you're here, man. It's been a good week. We finally have a good weather day. Clouds are gone, which is a great thing.
It is.
Hey, I'm gonna run right into the passage of scripture that we're working in.
Okay.
Because I noticed I was trying to keep it to 5 minutes, and I noticed that the 5 minute actually expanded a bit. So I don't want to lose listeners like right away.
You've got a verbal guy across from you, John.
Right. So I got two questions. I do want to do one thing for clarity for the audience, because I want them to hear, first of all, welcome everyone who's listening. I wanted to walk through the last verse in last week's passage, which was there for us, which basically said, continue to do the things you've observed me doing. Mm-hmm. Which is a really cool statement from Paul. And then the link from last week to this week is not so much necessarily the context I used last week, but I'm taking that and 1 Thessalonians chapter 1, in which Paul says, you have become imitators of us and the Lord. Okay, so there's this, Paul says twice in his epistles, at least, and probably more than that, you've become imitators of us. Okay, so that's kind of the key phrase I'm landing on for Sunday. Imitators of us. Mm-hmm. Okay, two quick questions.
Yeah.
One is a fun question, and then we'll take like a serious point of view. So First fun question is someone or something that you imitated as a kid that you look back now, it was kind of really goofy.
Well, that's easy for me because I've been a lifelong Cincinnati Reds fan. Yep. And as a result of that, because we went to Riverfront Stadium to watch the world champion Big Red Machine play all the time, I still want to be Johnny Bench when I grow up.
There you go.
In City League baseball, I always signed up to be catcher, all the way through high school playing City League baseball. Okay. And even in church softball, I love being a catcher because I love Johnny Bench.
Nice. That's really cool. That's really cool. For me, it was, I grew up on a farm, so imitating someone that I saw, I used to watch a lot of Westerns. Mm-hmm. My dad would always get us into, it could be Lone Ranger or whatever it would be, but a lot of Westerns. And so I had my fake guns, and I just pretended to be, someone out west. I mean, that was kind of my way to do that.
So I will pay you good hard cash if you'll walk up to the platform on a Sunday morning and look out at the audience and say, "Is that an offering I see?"
Not going to happen. Not going to happen. And I think some of our audience will get who you're imitating.
Exactly.
But leave
it's
comments. It's
not even a good impersonation.
Right. Leave comments down below if you know who Craig was trying to imitate. So someone serious, someone you truly tried to, and I could probably guess what I think your answer is going to be, but someone you tried to imitate as far as life.
Oh man, that's so easy for me because my best friend is my dad, and anything and everything of value that I've learned about discipleship, personal discipleship, anything and everything of value I've learned about life and about family and a good bit of what I've gleaned musically down through the years. I mean, you just there's not a topic of life or an aspect of life that I haven't looked to him directly for, because he's a great man, and I still, much like I said, I want to be Johnny Bench when I grow up. Mm-hmm. What I really should say is, if I grow up, I want to be my dad, because I esteem his walk with the Lord is so deep and rich, and
every time you talk about him, I'm sorry to interrupt, but every time you talk about him, you tear up.
Yeah, well,
I've seen this look on your face before.
Yeah,
you just reflect on.
He's my hero.
Wow.
I mean, he serves my mom, he served my brother and I so well, and every day, without fail, rain or shine, actually, he's on about a 2-hour prayer walk. And in his wallet is super thick. He's got the classic old man wallet. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Dad, if you're listening. He's got the classic old man wallet. But the reason for that is he has multiple prayer lists that he pulls out. And he just, for hundreds of people, man.
Wow.
He just walks and prays, and including you, you know, as pastor here, and
I'm honored.
But that's been the case for a long time because you guys had a connection from your years back in Jacksonville.
That's
actually,
correct.
even.
That's right.
So, you know, just all of that, just everything I've watched him do. It was interesting when you said what you said about Paul.
Yeah.
Saying you're imitators of us. I thought, man, for me, the benchmark for me, the Paul in my life is my father.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then my next thought was, man, I hope I'm that for my son.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
for my daughter. You
Right.
know?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, there've been just a host of people I tried to imitate, even as a young kid, imitating the church. You know, my dad and mom tell me this story of me preaching to my brother and sister. They were the congregation, and I was the preacher.
That's awesome.
There may have been an altar call, who knows? But I've tried to imitate these people called Nazarene, but these people, kingdom people, because I remember the days of why in the world is that person standing up, running around the sanctuary, holding a little white, handkerchief, praising the Lord. How does someone get that kind of relationship in which every Sunday morning I got to stand up and run and demonstrate how much I love the Lord?
Yeah.
Really, I mean, that's the generation I grew up in. And so the church celebrating the Lord has always fascinated me for sure.
Yeah.
When I listen to this passage, and I think you've helped me by talking about your dad, but in this passage, it almost seems, if Paul says this twice, be imitators of us, or do what you've observed us doing. It could sound arrogant in some ways, because I don't know that I truly have ever heard any person say that directly like that. Mm-hmm. Just do what we've done. Because it does sound like it's focused towards a person or a style or how he approaches it. I mean, initially you can take it in an arrogant way, but truly by his love for these churches, he's feeling like these are people I know, they know me, and he's talking to people he knows. He's not talking to strangers. He's talking to people he knows.
Well, could it be that part of the reason why we don't hear people say that kind of thing today is because when you think about who Paul was, not only was he living a pure, holy life, but he lived in a high level of accountability. Mm-hmm. And in today's society, man, we're resistant to that. Yeah. You know, so the minute you say, do as I've done,
right,
you're setting yourself up to be in a fishbowl.
Right.
You know,
right.
And how many of us immediately super paranoid,
right,
and worrisome about, man,
well, the mantra today, flaws? Yeah, and the mantra today is, you do your thing, I'll do my thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, individual choice and self is so important, is supreme, that, it's almost offensive that someone would say that in today's culture, but it makes sense. We talk about imitating Christ, but to listen Paul say, imitate us and the Lord, is kind of an interesting statement. And that's kind of where I'll take the message on Sunday.
My question for you would be, pastoral ministry is its own kind of circle of influence and sphere of influence, and there's such a holy calling there. Who are the people that you're, as a pastor, you're going, man, I want to imitate that person?
Yeah. There are, as a pastor, there are several leaders that I truly want to imitate. And I could reflect on every single one of my pastors, but I'll focus on one, the pastors I've worked with or worked for. Mm-hmm. I'll focus on one, and that's Brett Rickey.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me to hear you say that.
Yeah, I mean, it was to work on team with him was truly a joy. It's a lot of hard work, but it was a joy. Mm-hmm. But I remember at one point, and really this has been the way with most of my pastors, is at one point he came up and I had an order of worship ready to go on Sunday morning. He's like, Jonathan, I don't feel like this is the direction to go. And I kind of gulped. And I'm like, okay, where do you want to go? And the truth is, it was panic for me immediately. but he sensed in the middle of the night in his prayer life a shift and a change, and so we just changed it. I mean, and it truly is fun walking with men and pastors who are so close to the Lord that just that instinct of we need to shift this a bit. You know, I deeply valued that.
You know, what's interesting is that my dad served under Brett's uncle, Howard.
Interesting.
Howard Ricky.
Yeah.
And Howard was exactly the same way.
Yeah.
My dad would tell you of the people who had a massive spiritual influence upon his life.
Right.
And that same kind of joy in the relationship you talked about, he had that very same thing in his relationship with Reverend Howard Ricky.
Yeah. So people I want to imitate, you know, Brett would be one of those people when it comes to ministry. And as a staff member, you try to learn who you're working for, how they're geared, you know, what their passions are, what the focus is, because every pastor shifts a little bit differently when it comes to their, the mission's the same, but how they operate is different. But, you know, that was my most recent experience, so I'll just quote that. But you know, all the pastors I work with, incredible leaders, and there's a lot that I'd like to imitate from each and every one of them.
Well, I tell you this, I'm looking forward to Sunday again because, man, this past Sunday was such an extraordinary experience. You know, I just really sensed like the Lord bathed us in a unique way with His holy presence, and the Spirit was, and just in talking to people this week, the follow-up for me in email and phone both has been, man, something was different Sunday, and I feel compelled to get back to the room again. And I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah,
you know? Because then we're all becoming the people that others hopefully will want to imitate. The more of His holiness that we're getting into our lives, and it's changing our character.
And I know for certain that there were some people that were there that because of the way the week unfolded, it was incredibly difficult just to make the decision to be there. And so it's as if the enemy was pushing back, knowing that the people of God need to have this community and celebration, you know, every week, and they made the decision to be there. But it was a difficult decision just because of how their week fell apart. It was difficult just to be there, period. So, you know, it does make a difference. Being together makes a difference. Thanks so much for creating the worship service for us. Tell me, tell the audience real quick, maybe because of the nature of the text, you know, direction you're sensing going. Maybe even like the close of the service. We threw out a couple ideas last week.
Right.
With a particular emphasis you're looking.
Well, so when I thought initially about the kind of life that you want to imitate, the words that were jumping out of my spirit were authenticity and passion and fire, you know, and that took me back honestly in my own life to the places where I first became a Christian, where He found me and I found Him, and so that led me to the old hymn, "There's a new name written down in glory," but there's a relatively new song, Charity Gale song, by the same title that's kind of taken the world by storm. And so
it's a great song.
Just to take people back to their first love again, I think is where I think the Lord's going to have us in song service, so that then we rediscover transformation, the essence of discipleship, all the disciplines that come with that, because that's part of what Paul's talking about, right? Is do what we've done, be disciplined as we've been disciplined. You know, carry out these practices in your life, and so that's kind of where my mind has been. What I honestly at this moment I'm still kind of thinking through the end of the service a little bit, and the song's been on my mind today a lot. Is the old song, "Find Us Faithful." "Oh, may all who come behind us find us faithful." So, I don't know, that may sneak in at some point. We'll see.
The Steve Green selection from years ago.
Yep.
After all our hopes and dreams have come and gone.
Exactly.
Yeah. And our children sift through all we've left behind.
That's exactly right.
What clues do they uncover? Yeah. Praise the Lord.
Yeah.
Craig, thanks for being here. Thanks for taking the time.
This is awesome.
We'll see you next week, and we got to get a lot of good feedback from this little video podcast sort of thing. It's not really a podcast. It's not really a video.
Yeah.
But some people are listening into it on YouTube. So thanks for your time. Appreciate
thank you.
And just so you know, for the record, I think your dad would say the same thing. You reflect his image so very well.
That's very kind of you to say.
Your prayer, your thoughtfulness, the way you guide the team through, you're constantly stopping to pray. Obviously, there's a DNA of prayer and passion for the Lord in you. So,
Man,
just so you know,
that humbles me, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's visible. Yeah,
Thank
for
you.
sure. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy.
Have a good day.
You too.
See you.